Your husband, your ex-husband, excuse me, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
It was a tragedy in the suburbs. The ex-wife was heartbroken, and she was afraid she knew who it was.
Danny didn't treat me very well, and I'm so scared that maybe someone did this.
But was she framing someone else? With well-connected parents that were above the law? A family that took death and murder a little too lightly. The story of the Adelson family. On a quiet morning in Tallahassee, Florida, Dan Markel pulled into his driveway, unaware that a hired gunman was waiting for him. Within moments, 2 shots rang out, leaving the prominent law professor fatally wounded. At first, it seemed like a random act of violence, but the truth was far more sinister. What really happened to Dan Markel, and who wanted him dead so bad that they turned to killers for hire? Welcome to the channel, and today we will expose some powerful names, after which you can decide for yourself whether they are innocent or guilty. Tallahassee, Florida. It was the 18th of July, 2014, and the summers were just how they were in Tallahassee. Wendy Adelson found out about her ex-husband's shooting when she received a voicemail from her real estate agent, Lisa Carey. The voicemail came around noon.
I just listened to my voicemail.
What'd you hear? Who was your voicemail?
It's from Lisa Carey, who is my real estate agent, or who I had gone with to find a house. She just said she was driving around town and she heard there was a shooting on Trescott.
Yeah, that's what this is about. I'm sorry you had to hear it that way.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I should.
It's all right, just leave it there. Is it still on?
It's right there.
Do you want to just hit play again for me?
Sure.
Hey, it's Lisa Carey. It is Friday, and I feel like an idiot doing this, but I just heard that there was a shooting over on Trescott, and I promise I'm not trying to be dramatic or even nosy. I don't know, just checking on you, my friend. I hope all is well. I hope your sweet boys are well, and if there's anything you need, let me know.
Lisa seemed worried about a shooting on Trescott Road. Wendy was confused. Her mind didn't go to her ex-husband, Dan Markel.
There was a shooting at your home, or your ex-husband's home, at 2116 Trescott. Okay. Your ex-husband, excuse me, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Wendy immediately broke down. While they were divorced, she appeared devastated. At that time, Wendy was at home. A Best Buy technician had been at her house earlier, fixing her TV, which her children had broken. The technician had called her around 8 a.m. and stayed until about 10 a.m. After he left, Wendy continued with her day, working on a paper. She emailed the paper to a librarian for citation help, did some laundry, and planned to take a shower, but ran out of time.
I have a message from him this morning. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay, and then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my God.
She couldn't stop sobbing. Meanwhile, around 11 a.m., Dan Markel's neighbor reported the shooting.
Can you... Let me get over this hump, okay? Can we do that first? All right. Can you tell me what time you left your house this morning?
Yeah, I was there. I didn't leave this morning. I didn't leave until noon.
Okay. And
Oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott, and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was
And I
blocked.
just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something, because sometimes
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
when I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and it's a oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Wendy explained that she left her house around 12:15 p.m. She was heading out to buy bourbon for a friend's engagement party. On her way, she drove down Trescott Road, a route she often took as a shortcut. However, she found the road blocked by police, which she thought might be due to fallen trees. She wasn't paying much attention as she was on the phone at the time, so she turned around and took another route. She drove through Centerville and then to Benton Road, where she went to ABC Liquors to buy the bourbon. Afterward, she stopped at a gas station near Goodwill on Thomasville Road. She already had an alibi for the time when Dan was shot, so she wasn't a suspect yet. Wendy then met two friends at Mosaic Restaurant around 1 p.m. for their usual Friday meetup. She was a little late, having arrived just after 1 p.m. At this point, she still had no idea that her ex-husband had been targeted. It wasn't until later, as the interrogation progressed, that she learned the full details about the shooting. She had nothing but kind words for her husband. Dan Markel was a brilliant legal mind, a Harvard law graduate, a respected professor at FSU, and a devoted father to two young boys. Originally from Canada, he was deeply rooted in his Jewish faith, even spending a year in Israel. He met Wendy Adelson while she was interning in D.C. They connected on JDate, a dating app for Jewish singles. Wendy's mother was there, helping her browse. When she saw Dan's profile, smart, ambitious, deeply religious, she encouraged Wendy to reach out. They hit it off, got married, and built a life in Tallahassee when Dan took a job at FSU. But cracks formed early. At their wedding, Wendy's family paid for the catering. None of it was kosher. Dan, who kept strict Jewish traditions, was upset. A small slight, but one that foreshadowed a deeper divide. After 7 years, Wendy filed for divorce. Dan came home from a trip to find his house half empty, furniture gone, divorce papers waiting on the bed. The split was clean. A bitter custody battle followed, dragging on even after the divorce was finalized in 2013. 1 year later, Dan was dead. Police went looking for Wendy, his next of kin. During the interrogation, Wendy mentioned that she had lost her voice earlier in the week. Because of this, she and Dan postponed a conversation about their son's school.
No one that you know of or that you've spoken to recently that he's had some type of problem with or that he was concerned about?
No one that he was concerned about. I mean, we've been separated for 2 years, so I don't know,
right.
If he had something going on, I wouldn't know about it, but, I mean, I had lost my voice earlier this week, and so we had put off this conversation about our son's school and where he was going to go. And
Dan would never do this to himself. She said his life was better and he had moved on. He was dating a law professor and he was happy. But she mentioned that his current love interest might still be married, as she had also recently either filed for divorce or separated from her husband.
Well, let me ask you something. Does his relationship with her have anything to do with your all's divorce?
No.
No? It had nothing to do with an extramarital affair or anything?
No, but the only thing I'm thinking is Amy. I don't know what Amy's full divorce situation is like, so if you're going to think of someone who's not thrilled with Danny, I don't know how happy her husband or ex-husband is with the situation.
Do you know anything about him?
I don't know anything about him.
Okay.
Then came the denial. She had nothing to do with it, not a thing, but she had ideas, plenty of them. Initially, Wendy wasn't concerned about her sons. She hadn't once asked if her sons were okay. She suddenly had a new problem. Maybe someone did it for her, without her knowing. Maybe enough was enough.
This is what I want to do, okay? This is what happened, okay? Daniel's been shot, okay? And we have to find out why and who did this. Can you help with that?
I will try.
Okay. What I want to do right now to try to expedite things, okay, but I need your permission, is I want to take your cell phone and download all the information out of it.
Sure.
Do you have a problem with that?
No.
Okay. And then we're going to make arrangements for you to get the kids, or we'll get the kids somehow, okay? Because the kids are at daycare, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to need their mother.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
have a lot of friends.
I know.
How do you know that?
Well, you had 2 of them up there for a last-minute lunch date, right?
Last minute?
Well, I mean, you went up there, you're sitting with them, you have friends.
I do. What I meant by it is that Danny didn't treat me very well, and I'm so scared that maybe someone did this. Not because they hate Danny, but because they thought this was good somehow.
The detective was suddenly very interested. He wanted to hear all her ideas now. There was her brother Charlie. He knew all the details.
Oh, are you saying that you think maybe one of your friends would have done something like this?
Who would do this?
I don't know. That's why you're here, and that's why we're talking. Would you ever ask someone to do something like this?
Not in a million years.
Okay. Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I made my brother, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to, he makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV.
Okay.
Wendy had said something inappropriate herself. This was suddenly more interesting than the investigator had anticipated. What a big coincidence that Wendy makes this joke and suddenly her ex is dead.
He's my big brother, and he's been taking care of me since I was little, but he would never. And I told that to the repair guy this morning.
Right. That's okay.
I said, he asked me how much it cost, and I said I didn't know because it was a gift, because my brother said it was cheaper than a hitman. It was my divorce present.
Okay.
Such a horrible thing to say. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
But even my family, who felt like I had been mistreated, would never do something like this. Never.
Wendy Adelson grew up in South Florida, surrounded by palm trees, ocean air, and privilege. Her family was well off, thanks to the Adelson Institute, a lucrative dental practice near Fort Lauderdale. Her father, Harvey, and brother Charlie handled the drilling and filling. Her mother, Donna, ran the office. They lived comfortably in Coral Springs, where they had been for years. The Adelsons had 3 children, Robert, Charlie, and Wendy. Robert, the eldest, became a doctor but drifted from the family after getting married. That left Charlie and Wendy, always a little closer. They were closer in age, went to school at the same time, and shared an easy bond. Charlie followed in his father's footsteps, specializing in surgical implants. Wendy chose a different path, law. 2 doctors and a lawyer in the family. On paper, it was the perfect American success story. From the outside, life in the Adelson home looked picture perfect, but appearances can be deceiving. The detective wanted to know more about Charlie.
The brother that you're real close to, I have to do a lot of elimination at the same time. The brother that you're really close to, the one that joked about the TV and everything, what'd you say his name was?
Charlie.
Charlie, and he's in Fort Lauderdale?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what kind of car he has.
He has like 5 cars.
Can't tell me all of them.
He drives I think one of them is an unmarked police car.
Oh, really?
He's a bit of a character.
Okay.
So I don't know what he's driving at the time.
Right.
But I'll tell you, he's a periodontist, and he has this practice where he works from early in the morning till late at night. So
Wendy Adelson was talking fast. Too fast. She didn't know what kind of car her brother was driving, but she knew everything else. Charlie works long hours, she says, early in the morning until late at night. If anyone wanted to know where he was, that's where. At work. Always at work. He's a periodontist, constantly driving between different offices all over South Florida, doing implants for patients. She keeps going. He's always busy, always moving. And if that's not enough, he has a girlfriend too.
So if you ever wanted to find his whereabouts, he's working all day long until early in the morning till late at night, always driving to a different office and working.
Oh, he goes to different offices?
Yeah, he works in different offices all over South Florida and does implants for people. And he works really hard all the time. He has a girlfriend, so he's pretty much accounted for all the
Charlie, was that his first name?
Charlie's his first name.
It's too much information, too quickly. It sounds like she's trying to cover every gap before anyone even asks, trying too hard to make sure no one looks any closer. Once again, Wendy's humanity shines through the tears. She is, after all, a mother, a concerned one. Dan's parents live in Canada, but why would they think she did it? Wendy had filed that ambush-style divorce while Dan was out of town on a business trip, moving out and taking the kids with her. But she wasn't done. She wanted to move again, this time to Coral Springs, closer to her family, a solid 8 or 9 hour drive from where she and Dan lived. When Dan found out, he was livid, and rightfully so. He wasn't about to let her take his children that far away, so he filed a motion in court to stop her.
In 2005, we moved here. He was a professor and I was a student for 1 more year. And then we moved back to Miami for a year, and then we moved here for a year. The reason why I say his parents are going to say I did it is because after we got divorced, I wanted to move to South Florida, and I filed a petition to relocate in the court, and the court said no. So
Because of the kids.
So you can always leave, you just can't leave with your kids. So
Wendy and her family were determined to make the move happen, pushing back with everything they had. But Dan refused to back down. In the end, he won. The judge ruled that Wendy could not relocate that far, period. The decision sent Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, into a tailspin. As the matriarch of the family, Donna was used to getting her way, controlling and meddling in the lives of her adult children as if they were still under her roof. It was no secret that she had strong opinions about how things should be done, and if someone went against her wishes, there were consequences. Some even speculated that this controlling nature was the reason Wendy's older brother Robert was estranged from the family. His mother allegedly disapproved of his wife, and that was enough to push him out. Now, with Dan standing in the way of Wendy's plans, Donna was furious. But was that enough to commit murder? She called her mother to break the news.
Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it.
After she hung up, Wendy said something strange again. Dan had enemies. He was a sharp legal mind, a tough professor, a man with strong opinions, and little patience for fools. He'd made all sorts of people angry, students, colleagues, even strangers online. He'd been threatened before. Someone once wrote that men like him needed to be made radioactive. But was that enough to kill a man? She keeps bringing up the possibility that someone might have done this, almost like she's trying to help the police figure it out. Then there's Jeff Lacasse.
Wendy's been seeing a guy called Jeff.
Who's a friend of James. And
who's jealous.
Yeah.
Are you still currently seeing him, or just something you kind of let taper off?
It's been a bad week.
Okay.
Yeah, Jane and I actually went for a walk together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Earlier this week.
But you've taken a 1 week break from
I took
Jeff.
a 1 week break from communication with Jeff to figure out what to do.
Okay.
Because we've been dating for like
A year.
9 months, so like 10 months a year.
At first, she barely acknowledges him, but then she starts talking. Wendy had been seeing a guy named Jeff, a friend of James. He's jealous. They fought recently and took a break. He wanted to get back together. The morning she gave a talk publicly, Jeff was watching her boys, so he was familiar with the family, possibly even attached. Stressed over Wendy's divorce. Maybe it made him snap. While Jeff is a professor, he's not the killer type, but he's jealous.
Nothing, no contact at all
No
since?
text, no email. I told him, I said no text, no email, no nothing. Like,
Is Jeff a violent person?
No,
Not at all?
no.
Jeff own a gun?
I don't think so. I mean, my guess would be like 100% no, but I guess I was only in his house one time. I mean, he certainly could have a gun and I wouldn't know about it, but he never
Lives by himself?
lives by himself. He'd never talked to me about a gun.
Okay.
She circles back to Danny. He had plans and a schedule, so he wouldn't do this to himself. They needed to talk to Jeff. She didn't know anyone else. Danny wasn't in debt, didn't drink, didn't gamble, no addictions. Jeff Lacasse had not been in love. He was being manipulated. That's how he described it.
Now, is this just kind of like theory kind of stuff, or is it just kind of you had some time to think about what I talked to you about?
What it's been is we had a 14-day break while she was in South Florida. Then last 7 days, I haven't heard from her yet. So we're at day 22, 23. No longer under the spell. I'm starting to see a few things a little more clearly.
Okay.
It's been
But after 22 days without contact, things were starting to clear up. He saw her differently now. With distance came clarity. And there were things he thought the police should know, like the professor obsessed with Wendy who called her goddess and sent inappropriate texts.
I'm starting to clear up a little bit, man. I'm not under the spell. So there's just some things I think you should know. I'll try to go quick. I know you're busy.
Okay.
But
I appreciate you.
First, there was 2 quick things. You probably already have these, but there's a professor in the department that's totally obsessed with her. You probably already got that.
Who was that?
He's got really bad teeth. I don't know his name. He called her goddess, and he would send her inappropriate texts.
Men just had a way of falling for her. Jeff Lacasse saw Wendy differently once he was no longer under her spell. She had a public persona, charming, social, and well-connected, but few people truly knew her.
It was really strange, just to give you a couple examples. Well, I guess one of the things I worry about is Wendy has this public persona, and she's a very good actress, and she's very charismatic and all this kind of stuff. And she knows a lot of people, everybody in Tallahassee knows Wendy. You probably discovered that already. I mean, she's in every social circle, she's very social butterfly-esque and out there and stuff. But in terms of people that know her intimately, have spent like a lot of time with her and have seen behind the curtain, I think it's Markel, me, and maybe that Sack guy in the last 12, 13 years. I mean, she doesn't, you know what I mean? So some of the stuff I had seen.
Those who did, like Dan Markel and Jeff himself, saw a different side. She lacked guilt, had no empathy, and never admitted fault. She was a pathological liar, even telling Jeff outright that she struggled to tell the truth when it was convenient. Looking back, Jeff felt manipulated. His psychologist even told him Wendy fit the profile of a narcissistic sociopath. He hadn't seen it before, but now it made sense. The way she spoke about Dan was another red flag.
She's a total pathological liar, and I feel bad saying all this because I still love her. She has these flaws, and I would have stayed with her. But if you look back at Markel's legal documents, he's constantly talking about her systematic pattern of deception, how she lies all the time. And she told me once, I have a really hard time telling the truth when it's inconvenient or unpleasant. I lie all the time. I mean, she said that to me.
While everyone else described Dan as a good man and devoted father, Wendy painted him as a controlling stalker. She even told investigators Jeff had stalked her, something he knew was a lie. In his interview, Jeff described himself as the paranoid ex-boyfriend and said he was surprised that the police hadn't contacted him sooner. He mentioned that he had repeatedly said he wanted to confront Dan, who had been causing Wendy a lot of stress. Jeff also backed up Wendy's claim about her brother Charlie, but with a more serious interpretation.
She told me that Charlie had looked into having Danny killed in the summer of 2013. She meant it dead serious.
She said it in a dead serious, chilling, uncomfortable kind of way. Not like I joke around and like to kill Dan Markel. I'm sick of his shit. That's different. This was like, she said confidentially.
Jeff emphasized that Wendy was not joking when she said it, describing her tone as deadly, serious, and chilling. His interview provided some insight into Wendy's behavior leading up to Dan Markel's murder. He noted that Dan was in a good place in his life, had a new girlfriend, and had stopped harassing Wendy with emails. The timing of the murder seemed suspicious, given that Dan was about to gain a legal advantage in court. He also described a sudden shift in Wendy's behavior towards him. She had been affectionate and eager to reconcile, but after a phone call on Tuesday, she became distant. She then sent him a no-contact email, which he found unusual. He speculated that she might have known something was about to happen, as she seemed unusually strict about avoiding him. Jeff's alibi was that he was out of town at the time of the homicide. As for what he found suspicious about Wendy, he noted several things. She never reached out to him after the murder, which he found very odd given that they had co-parented and talked about Dan for hundreds of hours. He realized she had been seeing another man, Daniel Sack, while still maintaining a relationship with him, which he saw as a sign of a lack of conscience. Overall, Jeff believed Wendy's behavior after the murder was highly suspicious, making him question her possible role in the case. She moved on, even making a podcast about her ordeal.
10 months ago, someone killed the father of my children. First we got divorced, and then he got murdered. I don't know whether to call him my ex-late spouse or my late ex-spouse, except that late ex-spouse sounds like latex spouse.
For a while, it seemed like no one would ever know. A year passed, no arrests. Then 2 years, still nothing. People began to wonder if this case would ever be solved or if Dan's murder would become just another cold case, a mystery that would forever haunt those who knew him. But behind the scenes, investigators had never stopped digging, and in May of 2016, they finally caught a break. The morning Dan was murdered, a witness reported seeing a vehicle speeding away from the scene, something that looked like a Prius. Surveillance footage later confirmed it, captured by city buses and intersection cameras. It was a Toyota Prius in a color called Silver Pine Mica, a shade that sometimes appeared silver, other times green, depending on the lighting. That alone wouldn't have made it stand out. After all, Priuses were everywhere, but this particular car had a few distinct features that set it apart. The passenger side mirror was black, mismatched from the rest of the car, which had a standard body-colored mirror on the driver's side. One of the toe caps was missing, leaving a noticeable hole where a tow hook would be inserted. And then there was the strangest detail of all, a toll card reader mounted on the front windshield, something that would make sense in a city with toll roads, but Tallahassee didn't have any. It was an odd combination of details, but together, they made this Prius unique. Now, investigators just had to figure out who it belonged to. This led investigators to focus on tracking the vehicle, eventually locating it in Miami at a small car rental shop. The rental records revealed that two men, Luis Riviera and Sigfredo Garcia, had rented the Prius in July 2014. Luis and Sigfredo had known each other for years, and with their identities now known, police examined their phone records. These records showed that on July 16, 2014, they traveled from North Miami to Tallahassee. Surveillance footage, phone data, and rental details all corroborated this. Upon arriving in Tallahassee on July 17th, their phones pinged near Dan's home, linking them directly to the area. The investigation ultimately pointed to Sigfredo and Luis as the perpetrators of the shooting, which occurred on July 18, 2014, when Dan was shot in the head. Sigfredo was arrested on charges of first-degree murder and possession of cocaine. However, on June 2nd, the documents were unsealed, revealing a connection between the Adelson family and Sigfredo. On June 17th, both Sigfredo and Luis were indicted on murder charges and pled not guilty. In another twist, a woman, Catherine Katie Manbagua, was arrested. She had ties to both the Adelson family and the shooters. Katie had a romantic relationship with Charlie Adelson, Wendy's brother, and lived with Sigfredo, having 2 children with him. Investigators found hundreds of phone calls between Charlie, Katie, and Sigfredo in the lead-up to Dan's murder, suggesting a coordinated effort. As the trials neared, Luis accepted a plea deal, agreeing to testify against Katie and Sigfredo in exchange for a reduced sentence. In his confession, he implicated Katie and Charlie in orchestrating the murder. Luis pled guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 7 years in prison. Sigfredo's defense attorney criticized the plea deal, arguing it was an unfair bargain for the prosecution. Katie and Sigfredo went to trial, where both denied the charges, claiming Luis was lying. Katie even testified in her defense, despite strong evidence against her. Investigators had found over $50,000 deposited into her bank account, including checks signed by Donna Adelson, the matriarch of the Adelson family, despite Katie not being employed there. This evidence added to the mounting case against her. Katie Manbagua acted as the intermediary between Charlie Adelson and Sigfredo Garcia, with phone records showing a direct line of communication between them. The prosecution believed Charlie funded Katie's breast augmentation and the Lexus she drove, which was previously registered to his father. In court, they presented phone wiretaps and covert discussions, suggesting that Katie helped orchestrate the murder-for-hire plot involving her boyfriend Sigfredo. Sigfredo was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in 2019. Katie's defense argued that her money came from working in nightclubs and from Sigfredo, who fathered her children. They denied any criminal involvement, claiming she was coerced into helping him. After a hung jury in 2022, Katie was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. In a significant twist, Charlie Adelson was arrested in 2022, 8 years after Dan's murder. Enhanced FBI recordings from 2016 revealed Charlie and Katie discussing the investigation, calling it a scare tactic. This was crucial evidence presented to a grand jury, leading to Charlie's indictment for murder. Charlie's trial involved wiretap evidence, including text messages and phone calls, further implicating him in the plot to murder Dan. His mother was upset with Wendy. Dan Markel's murder was meticulously planned. Charlie Adelson was implicated after an undercover FBI operation revealed his involvement. Charlie, influenced by his mother Donna Adelson's anger over the custody dispute, became a central figure in organizing the crime. Donna had long tried to manipulate Dan, even suggesting bribes and threats to ensure his cooperation in allowing her daughter Wendy and the children to move to Miami. Charlie, along with accomplices Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine Magbanua, plotted the murder to create a scenario where Charlie could blackmail Dan's family, making it seem as though Charlie had been involved. Despite the defense's attempts to suggest this blackmail plot, the prosecution successfully dismantled their case. The FBI conducted a sting operation to further implicate Donna. Donna Adelson's arrest came after a series of significant events following her son Charlie's conviction for murder conspiracy and solicitation. Donna, the matriarch of a wealthy family, was arrested at Miami International Airport while attempting to flee the country with her husband. She was about to board a one-way flight to Vietnam, a country that does not have an extradition treaty with the U.S. The arrest was dumbfounding, as Donna had been involved in several jail calls with Charlie, which were monitored and recorded. During one such call, Donna discussed her plans to flee, thinking she could escape the legal consequences of her involvement in her son's crime. She was shocked at being arrested and tried to get out of it.
Hi, how are you? You have your ID? Oh, okay. Yeah. You're under arrest for cell phone. No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? Well, this is evidence. Evidence. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. You don't have that choice. Let me help you out. No, I have to stay. Please don't do this. Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah. And you need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't come with me.
Please, can I help? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
someone's got to help him get home. This is terrible.
The couple pleaded with the officers, but it was too late. She was caught.
You can't do this. This is insane.
You hold on to that for me? Is that okay with you? Please. You don't have to have the handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please.
Once Donna realized the officers weren't falling for it, she asked the important questions.
Can I call my attorney?
You can. You have a password already?
Where am I going?
Which company finger?
Where am I going?
You're going to the Dade County jail. Dade County jail.
It was almost heartbreaking that an elderly couple was being broken apart, until you realized what they were capable of. She seemed unaware of the warrant and questioned why she hadn't been informed earlier. Officers explained the process, stating they had to take her to a local station before transferring her to jail.
So the next place is what? The warrant? What did you say? Huh? What did you say the next place was?
Well, see, what happened is the warrant that they have from you is from out of Leon County.
When did they issue a warrant?
So what happened is we have to take you to our warrants bureau for that information to get entered, and then after that gets entered, before we can take you to the jail, to the local jail.
Okay.
She was searched, handcuffed, and transported in a police vehicle. Once they arrived at their destination, they followed standard procedures, escorting her inside while maintaining protocol. Donna has since been charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation to commit murder. After her arrest, she was initially held in the same facility as other notable figures, including OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny, but was later transferred to Leon County Jail. Given her attempt to flee, she is being held without bail. This new development in the case has raised questions about other potential individuals involved, such as Wendy. There's growing speculation that she might face charges too. In total, 5 people have now been arrested in this complex conspiracy, including the 2 hitmen, Catherine, Charlie's girlfriend, Charlie, Donna, and possibly Wendy. Investigators continue to probe the depth of this plot, raising questions about who else might be implicated, including Harvey, Donna's husband, who may have been aware of the situation. If you found this story compelling, let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think justice should look like in cases like this? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, because there are always more stories to tell, and some are closer than you think.